there is this interesting, not necessarily explicit, but juxtapositional, if that's a word, connection between Miriam in the Torah and water. And so the Gemara in Tani says, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda says that there were three, the translation is good sustainers that rose up for the Jewish people during the time of the Exodus, during the time in the wilderness, Moshe, Aharon, and Miriam. And that God gave them each one gift that they then gave to the Jewish people. And those three gifts were the well of water, the pillar of the cloud, Amud Hanan, and the man. And for the well of water, the Gemara then says, that was given in the Miriam's merit. So the idea is that how did this enormous group of not just people, but of animals and everything traveling through the wilderness for 40 years have access to water, right? Because we know most of the time they must have. If the kvetching only happened a couple of times and they didn't have water, the assumption is, well, the rest of the time they did. And so that Miriam, there was a well of water in Miriam's merit. Now,
and also in the 5th parak of Avot, right? There's mention of wells, one of the 10 things created on Shabbat Eve.
Exactly. And we'll look at that. So it also says there that that's one of the things that was created on the eve of Shabbos, and it's in a group of things that are that's a good, I don't want to say supernatural, but sort of, I guess, like in the more mystical realm, like the mouth of the donkey, of Bilam's donkey, and the mouth of the earth, as well as of Korach. So this well of Miriam, there's this connection between Miriam and water, especially because right after she dies, then they complain about there not being any water. And so what the Gemara then alleges is that when Miriam died, the well disappeared, which is why the people then complain that there's no water. But that, luckily, through Moshe and Aaron's merit, it returned. And so that seems to be confined to the wilderness. And also, like we said, a logical thing to think that how are you going to have water? There must have been some magical access to water. We know there was magical access to food with the man. So water also there must have been as well, right? Okay. Which is a nice idea, makes sense, etc. What I think is really, really interesting is then there's a Gemara in Shabbos when Rabbi Chia says, well, actually, if you want to see Miriam's well, here's what you do. Climb to the top of Har Carmel and look out, and you'll see a rock that looks like a sieve in the sea, right? A rock with like holes in it. And that's Miriam's well. I know. So that's one interesting statement made about Miriam as well. And then the second is Rav says, a spring that is portable is tahor. It's ritually pure. But then the Gemara says, what do you mean? A spring that is portable? Springs are in the ground. What can that possibly even mean, right? A spring of water it's like as connected to the ground as you can be. So what's a movable spring? Miriam's well. So this connection of, I think, first of all, trying to ground, pun intended, this spring, this Miriam's well, in nature, in the idea that it was in the ground, but also ascribing it this more mystical element. And for me, the question to ask now is, why does Rabbi Chia say that you can still see Miriam's well? Right? If it looks like also a rock that has like, with like a sieve more, why? Like, what is the point of looking out there and seeing it? And of course, there's a little bit of, I guess if you go, I'm not a good geographer, but I guess if you go to the top of Har Carmel, you can't actually really necessarily see the water. It's not totally clear where we understand it to be. But yeah, so why do we say that? Why do we hold on to this belief that somewhere you can see this water, this source of water?